Now we have my friends from NILA here, and Jordan Hall, Jim Sanfilippo. You guys have been building some darn rugged lights, some darn bright lights. What do you got new?
Most of the changes from last year's DCS event have taken place inside the fixture. The one exception to that is the arena, which we actually debuted here at last year's event before NAB. One key change with the older arena from last year and this year is folks kind of asked us to incorporate the same Chimera mounts that are available on the other three lights, so we've added that.
So no speed ring necessary. You have
Right.
You just put your Chimera right inside.
Exactly. A lot of folks with the older SL and the first generation arena were just punching it through like a 4x4 frame. Now, much like the Boxer, Varsa, and Zela, you can use a Chimera softbox if you wanted some diffusion. On the topic of diffusion, a lot of folks see these lenses, and if they're unfamiliar with our lights, they mistake them for diffusion because they're a bit cloudy. It's not diffusion. What it is a holographic lens. So at a microscopic level, what it's doing is just changing the shape of the light. I'll drop one into the Boxer here so you can see what I'm talking about. If you look here on, well, you probably can't see on the stage, but on the floor, it's a good idea. So here on the background, as you can see, it's pretty spotty without a lens. This lens here is our widest lens. It's an 80-degree spherical lens. Now the fixture's square, but the light output is still spherical. So when I drop in this lens, you're going to see a standard kind of a flood spherical output. So we're not losing much, if any, light. The wider you go, the more you will theoretically lose, but even at an 80-degree flood, you're only losing about 9% light output. So they're very transmissive for what they're trying to do compared to something like a Fresnel. All of our fixtures are fully dimmable. They're flicker-free through the entire dim range at 5,000 frames per second. At 100% output, it'll be flicker-free past 1,000,000 frames per second. A lot of what we do, apart from our film and TV side, is things like high-speed imaging. So those customers, like you said, they require kind of a durable fixture, but they also require one that works at extremely high frame rates, which we excel at. On the film and TV side, since that's kind of what this clientele is all about, most recently the Varsa was used on the film Batman vs. Superman. Folks who've been coming to the DCS events for years may have heard Roberto speak. I think it was about 4 years ago now.
Roberto Schaefer.
Exactly, yeah. He was one of the first customers of ours. He used a predecessor to the Zela on the far corner for car shots. Since that time, the NILAs, because they're extremely durable and they have very low power draw, have been used for a lot of car sequences. So in Hollywood, that's been a frequent usage for them. On the TV side, the arena here was used, I guess it wasn't last weekend, it was 2 weekends ago at the Super Bowl for all of the interview sets outside of the stadium. So that's kind of where we've seen the most demand for the arena is on the television side thus far.
I would imagine that they're pretty weather resistant too.
Well, we do make a weatherproof version. We're actually in the process of redoing our IP65 weatherproofing for NAB. Planned would be weatherproofing for all four fixtures, whereas in years past we only did weatherproofing on the Varsa and the Boxer. We're introducing a weatherproof arena and then down the road a weatherproof Zela as well.
So it's a choice. It never rains in Southern California, so you don't need it here as much.
Exactly. And in fact, even if you do live in an area with some rain, I'm from Seattle, we have a little bit of rain up there. You don't necessarily need our IP65 light. That's intended mostly for permanent outdoor installations. I have found that in most cases with light rain, the fixtures do pretty well. And if you do end up needing to weatherproof it, you can do so on the fly with some baguettes, some light plastic, because there's little to no heat production. So if you do want the IP65 option, it is available. It adds a little bit of weight and a little bit of cost. So a lot of folks choose just to go the traditional route and then weatherproof on the fly because the heat production issue is not there.
Well, when I first met Jim, he was slamming these on the ground on the cement.
If you want, we could do I'll tell you what, I won't ruin the stage. Anybody who wants can come by our booth and feel free to do a crash test. Believe me, I think at the first NAB, Jim did if you break it, we'll give you one that works, not the one that you broke, and nobody was able to cash in on that. So maybe we'll do it. We only have an hour left, right? We'll do it here today too. So
just don't hurt the floor, okay?
Yeah. And
freshly painted.
And we might want to put a height restriction, maybe 10 feet off the concrete or something like that. I will say though, one of my favorite stories is with the Boxer here. A local DP, he did find a way to drop the fixture from about 11 feet off the ground onto concrete, and he needed it the next day. So he showed up at our office at 4 p.m. on a Friday, unannounced, asking if he could borrow one because his was, of course, in need of repair. Jim was sitting there talking to him. He happened to be in the office and, undid the back end and repaired it for him in about 15 minutes, and the guy was extremely pleased that his unit was back up and running. So because there's no bulb or any ballast to break, the units are extremely durable. Occasionally, if you're extremely hard on your gear, you might see something like a loose wire connection, but you're not going to have the plague of repairs that you see with other fixtures like an HMI.
Anything else you wanted to add?
On that same note, I did mention the HMI. You've heard a lot of LEDs here today that do specific things. Our approach to LED lighting is really as an HMI replacement. So kind of the handy rubric for remembering NILA is to remember its HMI equivalent. So on the far corner, the Zala is a Joker 200 replacement. The Varsa is a Joker 400 replacement. Right here, the Boxer is replacing an 800 HMI, and then the Arena is a 2.5K replacement. So they're all intended to be a hard light source. You can always make a hard light soft. Can't go the opposite direction. So our approach has been to replace HMIs.
Any questions for NILA? Waterproof?
We have a series, which is an option, which is an IP65 weatherproof. They're not submergible, but they're pretty close. So depending on your application, shoot me an email. We can figure something out. Some folks have put them in waterproof casing because, like I said, they can run off of battery. They are lacking the heat production. So you can get creative, but I'd say in most applications, our IP65 line does a pretty good job.
Well, thank you very much, Jordan and Jim. Appreciate it.